Welcome to the Power Book of Podcasts. Unlock your potential with powerful book summaries that inspire personal growth and broaden your understanding of the world. Each week, we explore life-changing ideas, from leadership to mindset strategies to keys for happiness and success. Learn actionable insights to apply in your daily life. Join our growing community of thinkers and seekers. Like, comment, and hit that subscribe button now. It's time to supercharge your mind with the Power Book of Podcasts.
Welcome to your deep dive. Today we're going deep on human nature. You know, that always fascinating, sometimes frustrating puzzle of what makes people tick.
It's complicated.
It is. It really
Yeah.
is. We've got excerpts from Robert Greene's The Laws of Human Nature to help us out here.
Yeah, a great guide for this kind of deep dive.
Yeah, get ready to unlock some serious insights into yourself and everyone around you.
Everyone.
By the end of this, you'll have a whole new toolkit for navigating social situations and maybe even a little more self-awareness. Speaking of which, Greene dives deep into this idea of the shadow. It sounds kind of ominous.
It can be. It's that hidden part of ourselves, the part we try to hide even from ourselves.
Okay.
All those impulses and desires that don't really fit the image we want to project.
Yeah, like the stuff we sweep under the rug
Exactly.
of our personality. I'm already thinking of a few dust bunnies. But seriously, why do we even have a shadow in the first place?
Yeah.
It just seems like more trouble than it's worth.
Well, it's not intentional. Our minds actually use repression as a defense mechanism. We push down anything that contradicts how we see ourselves or anything that causes too much anxiety.
Right.
But it's always there, you know? Like a beach ball you're trying to hold underwater.
Always exerting pressure.
Always.
So how do we even begin to spot this shadow, both in ourselves and in others? What are some red flags?
I think contradictory behavior is a big one.
Yeah.
So, someone who's known for their generosity suddenly acts really selfishly, or a calm person just explodes in anger.
Oh, yeah.
Those are cracks in the persona letting the shadow peek through.
Interesting. It's almost like they're overcompensating,
Yeah.
like trying too hard to be the opposite of what their shadow whispers they might be.
Yeah, exactly. And pay attention to exaggerated traits, like someone who is excessively nice to the point that it just feels insincere. They could be masking a deeper insecurity or even resentment.
This is getting deep. So if we notice these signs in someone else, what's the best way to approach it? Do we confront them about their shadow?
Confrontation is rarely helpful, especially if someone is unaware of their own shadow.
Oh?
A more effective approach, I think, is to try to understand that their behavior might be coming from a place of insecurity or fear.
So more compassion than judgment. But what about protecting ourselves? Some shadows can be pretty destructive, right?
Absolutely. Awareness is key, I think. Once you recognize the shadow at play, you can set boundaries and avoid getting caught in its web.
Okay.
You wouldn't engage with the venomous snake, right? You would just observe it from a safe distance.
They're making note of that.
Nay.
So we've got the shadow lurking beneath the surface. What else does Greene highlight as crucial for understanding human nature?
Well, he emphasizes the importance of empathy. Genuinely stepping into someone else's shoes.
Right.
It's a skill that can be honed. It's not just something you're born with.
Like this skill, not a trait.
Yeah.
But doesn't everyone think they're empathetic?
Right.
What makes real empathy so special?
It's deeper than just acknowledging someone's feelings. It's about understanding their perspective, their motivations, even if you don't agree with them.
Okay.
Greene uses the example of Ernest Shackleton, the Antarctic explorer.
Oh, I've heard of him. Didn't his ship get trapped in the ice?
Yes. His crew was stranded for months in freezing, perilous conditions. But instead of just barking orders from a position of authority, he made a point of connecting with each man individually, observing their moods, addressing their concerns. He even volunteered to kill the cook's pet cat when food ran out.
Oh, wow.
Because he recognized the emotional toll it would take.
Wow. Talk about understanding the human element in a crisis. But isn't that level of empathy draining?
It can be, which is why self-care is important. But the payoff is huge. When people feel truly understood, their resistance just melts away and they're more open to your ideas. It's about building bridges, not walls.
So we're not just being nice, we're being strategic with empathy. That's a game changer. It makes you wonder what the world would look like if everyone practiced that level of empathy.
Indeed. Now imagine this. You're having a conversation, and the person across from you says they agree, but their body language is screaming the opposite. How do you decipher that?
That's where decoding nonverbal cues comes in, right? Greene talks about that too. But I always feel like I'm overthinking it. Like, do they really hate my shirt or am I paranoid?
It's easy to get caught up in our own heads. But Greene emphasizes the importance of nonverbal communication as a window into people's true feelings. often revealing what they're trying to conceal.
Oh, so it's like a secret language we all speak. What are some cues we should be paying extra attention to?
Look for signs of tension. Pursed lips, furrowed brows, sudden shifts in posture. These can all indicate discomfort or disagreement, even if they're saying all the right words.
It's like their body's betraying their carefully constructed words. What about signs of genuine agreement?
Look for synchrony. They mirror your body language. Lean in while you speak, nod in affirmation. These suggest genuine interest and connection.
Okay, so pay attention to the subtle cues. The mismatch between words and body language. It's like being a detective of human behavior.
Precisely. And this skill is especially valuable when navigating a complex emotion like envy. Something Greene unpacks through a fascinating historical example.
Oh, tell me more. Envy always seems so sneaky and destructive.
Greene uses the story of Mary Shelley, the author of Frankenstein, to illustrate how envy operates. When she was just 16, she ran away with the poet Percy Shelley. They spent a summer in Switzerland with Lord Byron and his entourage.
Sounds like the start of a Gothic novel itself.
Yeah.
Was there some love triangle drama fueling the envy?
Not quite, but there was definitely a power dynamic. Byron, already famous, had his mistress and their baby there, along with a young woman named Jane to help with childcare. Mary noticed that Jane seemed to receive a lot of attention from Byron, and it wasn't just admiration.
Ah, so those subtle digs disguised as compliments, the envy bites you mentioned before.
Exactly. Greene points out how envy often manifests as, backhanded compliments, feigned admiration, or even just like a coldness in the gaze when the envied person receives praise. There's this chilling scene where Jane tells Mary that her baby is beautiful, but then adds, "It's a pity she's so delicate she might not live long."
Oof, that's just straight up cruel. So besides recognizing these envy bites, how do we protect ourselves from this kind of negativity?
Awareness is the first line of defense, I think. Once you understand the tactics that envious types use, you're less likely to internalize their barbs. It's like knowing a magician's tricks. The illusion loses its power.
It takes away their ability to subtly undermine you. Speaking of powerful forces, Greene also dives into aggression, which seems like a loaded topic.
It is, but Greene argues that aggression in itself isn't inherently bad. It's a natural human instinct, a source of energy that can be channeled in positive ways.
So it's not about suppressing our aggression completely, but more about managing it, kind of like taming a wild horse.
That's a great analogy. He suggests that repressing aggression can actually backfire, leading to passive-aggressive behavior, resentment, and even a dampening of our mental powers.
It's like trying to hold a lid on a boiling pot. Eventually it's going to explode.
Yeah.
So how do we harness that energy without letting it turn destructive?
Greene introduces this idea of the internal saboteur, that voice inside us that whispers doubts, discourages risk-taking, and generally tries to keep us small.
Oh, I know that voice all too well.
Yeah.
It's the one that says, you're not good enough, so why even try?
Exactly. But by acknowledging and embracing our aggression, we can reclaim that assertive spirit and turn it into fuel for creative thinking and bold action.
It's about turning that inner critic into an inner coach, pushing us to step outside our comfort zone. Do you have any tips for actually doing that? Because sometimes that inner critic is loud.
Start by recognizing that aggression is part of who we are. We all have it. Then instead of judging yourself for these impulses, find healthy outlets to channel that energy.
So instead of getting frustrated in traffic and yelling at other drivers, maybe hit the gym or channel that energy into a work project.
Exactly. Find what works for you. Greene gives the example of French revolutionary Georges Danton, who used his fiery energy to rouse the passions of the people and bring about radical change.
Passion channeled into purpose. It makes you think about the different ways we define purpose in our own lives. That's something else Greene explores, right?
He dedicates a whole chapter to it. Greene believes that having a strong sense of purpose is essential for a fulfilling life. But he cautions against the pitfalls of hyperintention.
Hyperintention, what's that? Like wanting something so badly you scare it away?
Exactly. It's that desperate clinging that can actually hinder our progress. He compares it to forcing a flower to bloom. You can provide all the right conditions, but the blooming happens on its own time.
So how do we cultivate a sense of purpose without falling into that trap of hyperintention?
Greene recommends finding mentors who can guide and inspire us. Concentrating our energy on a single project instead of scattering our efforts and embracing the process of skill development, finding joy in the journey itself.
It's about mastering the craft, not just chasing the outcome. He also uses the story of Coco Chanel to illustrate this.
Yes. Despite starting with few advantages, she was able to build her fashion empire by focusing relentlessly on her passion for design and seeking out mentors who could help her navigate the business world.
She turned her unique talent into purpose. But what about those false purposes Greene warns us about? The things we chase thinking they'll bring us fulfillment, but ultimately leave us empty.
It could be the pursuit of money, fame, social status, things that look shiny on the surface but lack true substance. It's about being honest with ourselves about what truly matters.
So finding alignment between our actions and our values. Now that makes me think about the different ways people express their purpose, especially in positions of leadership. Greene talks about authority too, right?
He makes a crucial distinction between natural authority, which is earned through respect and competence, and forced authority, which relies on fear and manipulation.
It's like the difference between a mentor who inspires you and a boss who just barks orders.
Exactly. He gives examples like Queen Elizabeth I, who was a master of listening, tailoring her communication and projecting confidence, all while making promises sparingly.
She built trust through her actions, not just her title. What about someone like John D. Rockefeller, who is known for his ruthless business tactics?
Even Rockefeller, while tough, earned a degree of respect through his strategic brilliance, attention to detail, and unwavering moral compass.
So true authority isn't just about charisma, it's about substance and integrity.
Precisely. And here's the takeaway for our listener. If you want to project more authority, focus on developing your competence, communicating effectively, and most importantly, being authentic.
No shortcuts, just genuine growth. Now, this all makes me wonder about how these dynamics of human nature play out on a larger scale, like in organizations or social circles.
Greene calls this the court, and he identifies various archetypal roles people tend to play in these hierarchical structures.
Ooh, court intrigue. I'm listening.
One key player is the gatekeeper who controls access to the leader or those in power. They can be a valuable ally or a formidable obstacle.
Think of the executive assistant who manages the CEO's schedule. They have a lot of influence.
Then there's the talent who possesses a unique skill or ability that makes them valuable to the group. They often enjoy a privileged position, but can also be targets of envy.
So the star athlete, the brilliant coder, anyone who shines brightly can attract both admirers and detractors.
Then we have the jester, who provides comic relief and often uses humor to challenge the status quo. Think of the witty colleague who can make light of a tense situation.
They can be a breath of fresh air, but they also need to know when to draw the line.
Exactly. Then there's the shadow, often close to the leader, but operating behind the scenes, wielding influence subtly and sometimes manipulatively.
They're the ones who whisper in the king's ear, so to speak.
Yeah.
How do we spot them?
Their motives can be hard to decipher, which makes them dangerous. Pay attention to who seems to have an unusual amount of sway over decisions or opinions.
Okay, staying aware of those behind-the-scenes power dynamics. Who else is in this courtly mix?
Lastly, there's the mirror, a master of social intelligence who reflects back to people what they want to see, making them feel understood and validated.
They're like social chameleons, blending in and adapting to any situation. But how do we know if their mirroring is genuine?
That's the tricky part. It's often a strategic maneuver, not necessarily reflecting their true feelings. Discernment is key.
So understanding these courtly roles gives us a sort of map for navigating complex social environments. But how do we actually use this knowledge to our advantage without getting sucked into the drama?
The key is to stay focused on your own goals and build genuine connections based on respect and mutual benefit. Don't get caught up in trying to outmaneuver or manipulate others.
It's about playing the long game, not getting distracted by courtly intrigue. Now, this has been a fascinating exploration of human nature, but there's one more big topic Greene tackles that we haven't touched on yet.
And it's the one most people try to avoid: death.
I can see why it's a bit of a conversation killer. But Greene seems to think facing our mortality can actually be a source of wisdom, right?
He argues that acknowledging the finiteness of life can help us appreciate the present moment more deeply and overcome our fear of failure, encouraging us to take more risks.
Like, if we're not afraid of dying, we're less afraid of living fully.
Right. He uses Flannery O'Connor, the writer, as an example. Despite a debilitating illness and knowing her time was limited, she continued to write with passion and purpose.
She didn't let the shadow of death dim her creative light.
Exactly. Greene also emphasizes finding a sense of purpose that transcends our individual lifespan,
Right.
something that leaves a positive impact beyond our own mortality.
It's about contributing to something larger than ourselves.
He uses the term immortality not in a literal sense, but to describe that connection to something that endures beyond our own time on Earth.
That's a beautiful way to reframe the idea of death, not as an ending, but as part of a larger cycle. This has been such an insightful exploration of human nature.
It has.
It feels like we've just scratched the surface. But I have a feeling this is the kind of deep dive that keeps unfolding in our minds long after we're done listening.
That's the beauty of exploring human nature, I think. It's a lifelong journey of self-discovery and understanding others. Greene encourages us to approach it with curiosity, constantly observing, questioning, and refining our understanding of what makes us human.
It's not just about absorbing information. It's about cultivating a mindset, a way of seeing the world and the people in it.
Precisely. And with that in mind, I'd like to leave you with a question to ponder.
Oh, I love it. Hit me.
If you could choose to see one person's shadow, who would it be and why?
Ooh, that's a good one. It really makes you think about the hidden depth within ourselves and others.
By peering into that shadow, we can gain a more complete understanding of who we are and how we relate to the world.
This deep dive has been such a fascinating exploration of human nature, the good, the bad, and everything in between. I feel like I have a whole new set of lenses for looking at myself and the people around me.
Remember, the journey of self-discovery and understanding is never truly finished. There's always more to learn, more to uncover, and more to appreciate about the intricate tapestry of human experience.
Well said. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you found these insights valuable and that you'll continue to explore the depths of human nature with curiosity and an open mind.
Until next time, keep diving deep.
And keep those shadows in check.